Yeah. You go get him, Tiger. You drive as well as you growl. You're going to just... Got to turn the page. All right, get it with oh, it's for Mike.
All right, so what do you do if you're hit with a gun violence restraining order? John Dillon is in the studio to talk about it.
But first, clean lube and protect your gun faster and easier with Seal One. Seal One CLP Plus is all natural, non-toxic, and environmentally friendly. And are you tired of smelling like a gas station after cleaning your gun? Try Seal One. Ask for it by name at your local gun shop. If they don't have it, tell them to get it. Clean your guns faster and better with Seal One. Oh my gosh, John Dillon is in the house. Holy moly. Founder of the Dillon Law Group. And what happiness are you going to talk about tonight?
Oh, it's the same old. It's always depressing. But
I always go home angry, but that's okay. You go for it.
You should go home angry on this subject because I'm going to continue that discussion on gun violence restraining orders. And if we have time, 5150 health and welfare check stuff. But, gun violence restraining orders or GVROs, that's the topic of today's discussion, I'd say. I didn't know you were going to be talking about the
Hammerling and
Hammerling and him wanting to rule the roost when it comes to GVROs. And the problem here is there's nothing good about a GVRO, it's literally
gun violence restraining order.
Gun
so
violence
instead of having
order.
to say all that.
Yeah. I'm a lawyer, so we got to shorten everything.
I know. We got to stay on top of you.
But, these GVROs, it's quite literally the Minority Report. We're trying to stop crime before it happens. And we do that based off of hunches or phone calls. And, every time you hear the city attorney or the sheriffs or any law enforcement that are supporting GVROs, they're always telling you of these really serious situations in which, we stopped a crime from happening or we stopped someone from getting shot or hurting himself or someone else. Well, yeah, those are the ones that they want to publicize. And those are the ones that they want everyone to hear about when they hear about gun violence restraining orders. But it is so absurdly easy to abuse these things. I often tell people, I'll get a gun violence restraining order put on you with a phone call. I don't even have to know you. I just need to know your first and last name, know where you live, and make a phone call to the police saying you said something bad. And that's essentially all that you really need to put one of these orders in place, because when police go to a judge, and that's what happens when they're trying to get a gun violence restraining order, the first thing that's going to happen is they're going to get a temporary GVRO or a temporary emergency protective order. And all a police officer needs to do to get one of these things is they have to have a reasonable cause. They go up to a judge and they have to prove reasonable cause to why one of these temporary GVROs needs to be put into place. And if you're in the legal field, reasonable cause is nothing. It's less than nothing. It's the lowest standard. It is so easy to prove and get past that hurdle that it's a joke. So when someone says, "Oh, well, we have to prove reasonable cause in order to get one of these things," that's laughable when I hear something like that. Because if you can't prove reasonable cause, I don't even know what you're doing. You're bad at your job. And I've defended gun violence restraining orders a number of times. I've found that that's continuing to be a call that I get more and more often, week by week. In San Diego, like you said, there's been more gun violence restraining orders issued in San Diego than any other county in the state. And our city attorney and a lot of our law enforcement, they're promoting these things like they're saving people, but in reality, they're getting abused. And I can give you examples of how this stuff gets abused. I can't tell you how often I get a phone call because there's a divorce proceeding going on or two people splitting up. And it used to be, restraining orders would be issued in a divorce case, but now it's used as a weapon. No matter what happens, no matter what the facts are, that's what happens.
Truly weaponized. They truly are saying, hey, I want to hurt this other person. I'm going to use this government policy to do it.
Exactly. And it's a known thing. And so all you got to do is, you have a spouse that makes a phone call and says, he made this threat or she made this threat. And you tell that to police. So now the police goes, all right, well, a threat's been made. This person owns a gun. We can confirm that because we have everything registered to us in California. So now I have a guy that owns guns. He made a threat to his spouse or his spouse made a threat to him. Well, let's just go tell the judge that. They tell
No
the judge,
brainer.
I got a guy who owns guns and he made a threat.
Yeah, no brainer.
There you go.
Done.
I've never heard of a temporary gun violence restraining order getting denied, to be honest. But you have that done. And so what happens when you get these temporary GVROs is you get a knock on your door. You don't get a phone call. You don't get a notice by mail saying, hey, attend court to defend yourself. You get a knock on the door, and it's a bunch of police officers, and they hand you a piece of paper. They say, where are your guns? We're going to come and take them. And at that point, they come and take them. And it's legal for them to do so. They come in. If your guns are locked up in a safe, they're either going to get the necessary tools to open up that safe, or you're going to open it up for them. And then
Do you get a receipt?
you do get a receipt, but if we want to talk about getting guns back from law enforcement
That's
agencies,
another
that's
show.
a whole nother show.
Good luck.
Okay.
But yeah, so you basically get a knock on your door, all your guns get taken, you have no idea what's going on, and then you're told that, there'll be a hearing within 21 days. Now, there's two sides to that. One is you want the chance to defend yourself and be like, what's going on here? Why are my guns being taken? So you kind of want that quick hearing, but at the same time, people are caught unaware by these things. And a lot of people that get these GVROs have never had a criminal conviction in their life. They've never been in front of a judge. They've never, been arrested. They've never even spoken to law enforcement on a professional level. And so people panic. They don't really know what's going on. They get these weird court notices handed to them, and it has a date on it. And a lot of times, unfortunately, I'll get a phone call. And they'll say, well, I got this weird, restraining order 5150 gun violence thing put on me. And so I got to spend about 10 minutes trying to figure out what exactly they have. And I go, well, when's your hearing? Tomorrow, in 2 days. And it's tough because, at that point, it's really hard to get a good defense going, but we do what we can.
What, are you busy?
Well, yeah.
You are in California.
But, you can get hearings rescheduled and continued. But, these GVROs, it's not something that, we took your guns and next week you explained yourself and now you get your guns back, and we just hand them to you in the courtroom. None of that happens. Like,
No.
These things, even if you're successful in defending them, and, my firm's been successful in defending every single one we've been involved in, it still takes months to get your stuff back. Even when the courts say, no, you're fine, they had no cause to issue one of these.
What are the consequences? If you get a gun violence restraining order against you, and what are the consequences as far as how much does an attorney cost typically? How much is this? This is going to run them $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, right?
Oh yeah, it all depends, but generally per hour basis, $250, $300 an hour for an attorney.
Yeah.
That's going to be probably your average. And so
20, 30 hours of work at least, right?
Yeah, it can very
depends.
much range. And here's the big kicker. So you get a GVRO, and so you want to think, okay, this is a civil issue. I just got to defend this, it's one topic GVRO. Well, what happens when the police come in and they, confiscate your firearms, but it happens to be that one of your firearms is not compliant with California law, which I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of non-compliant firearms in California. People just have a hard time keeping up with the changing definition of what an assault weapon is and what handguns you can and can't have.
And don't forget the ghost guns.
Yeah, ghost guns, a whole new thing. God, I hate that word.
Another show.
I hate that word, yeah. So, police come in, they confiscate your guns. Well, now we've confiscated your guns and you've been successful defending this GVRO, but we have now criminal charges that we want to place against you. And these criminal charges sometimes are leveraged against, if you're trying to defend a GVRO, well, they say, well, we could charge you with all these criminal charges that can be felony convictions, or,
just let it go.
Don't defend against this GVRO, and we'll get an issue this GVRO without any opposition. So there's all sorts of situations where it can get very complicated, very messy, and it can take a long time and a lot of money.
So it gives law enforcement a whole bunch more leverage, but hasn't really been a case to be made that what you're trading off, giving them leverage, giving them more authority, lowering the standard for taking a firearm away. There's not a case that this is helping. Like they're not real. I mean, they could already take firearms away from people that were committing crimes. But now they can take firearms away from people who aren't committing crimes.
Exactly.
And there is no definitive, like, hey, here's a case, or here's a dozen cases, or here's 100 cases where we really, really, no pun intended, dodged a bullet here. Like we really, really helped keep society safe.
Yeah.
So we've given them this gift of more authority, and we've received nothing to our advantage in return.
Yeah, I'll give you an example here of how this can be abused and just the absurdity of it. A client whose son was an adult who has some mental health issues, doesn't actually live at home, but because of COVID, they were kicked out of the care home he was in, and he had to stay at his parents' house. And so the father locked up his guns, had safe everything, but somehow this, adult, he's a 26-year-old man, stole one of the firearms one morning. He's having a bad morning. Before he stole the gun, though, the parents, they knew he was having a hard time, and they're like, we need to get some help. So they called the police and said, hey, we need to get him on a health check, and we need someone to come here, take care of him, because, he's kind of out of control. We can't do it. They never showed up. Then what happens a little while later, a couple hours later, he's stolen this gun. Luckily, it was unloaded, and he had a little altercation with the neighbors out in front. Well, magically, the PERT team and the officers appeared then, and they put him under 5150. But then they put the dad, they gave him a GVRO, and they confiscated all his firearms. And the thought was, well, you let him steal your firearm, so therefore you are unsafe with guns, and now we have to keep you from having firearms. And so we had to defend against that case, and luckily we succeeded. The judge was kind of shocked when she had to make the clarification. So the man in court today, he's done nothing wrong with the firearm, correct? Yes, Your Honor. Did he threaten anyone with a gun? No, Your Honor. Did he abuse gun law in any way, shape, or form? No, Your Honor. Someone stole his gun? Yes, Your Honor. Oh, and who was the one who called the police in the first place? He did, Your Honor. Who disarmed the person and took the gun away? He did, Your Honor. So why is he here? Well, he's just not safe with guns. So luckily that one was kind of laughed out of the courtroom, but this is just an easy example of how it can be abused. You have a situation where someone didn't even do anything. And we're not talking about even committing a crime, but literally was a victim of a crime. And
don't they get these directives from their subordinates?
Well, this is the thing. They're given the general parameters of how these gun violence restraining orders are issued, and they know here's in the real world. I can get them, and it's very easy to get them if I get annoyed by someone. If I want to search someone's house and I'm told to get a warrant.
We got to take a break, or you got to write a check. All right. Hey, we are so proud to partner with the National Concealed Carry Association as a 10-ring partner. NCCA exists to serve the Second Amendment community by providing a nationwide network of 24 2A advocates. They offer elite self-defense and concealed carry training from its nation's top instructor, and they provide a rock-bottom price on the very best selection of gear and accessories. Join them today. Members get great prices and free shipping. You can learn a whole lot more at nationalconcealedcarryassociation.com. All right, back to John Dillon. Okay, I'm not the smartest pencil in the box, like I mentioned earlier, but
that's true. I can confirm that.
Can you do that? Can I get a letter?
I second that motion.
Can I get a letter?
Oh, wait, there's more.
It looks like it's just they figured out another way to get guns taken away from Second Amendment gun carriers.
100%. That's what the purpose of these things are. It's to take guns, and the proof is in the pudding. So, let's say you get one of these temporary gun violence restraining orders, and you go to court and you win, right? So you've proved to the court, like, no, I'm not a danger to myself. They should not have come. They take my guns. So all that does is makes it to where a permanent GVRO doesn't get issued against you, so you're prohibited from anywhere from 1 to 5 years. So if you're right and you're successful at trial and defending yourself, they go, okay, sorry. That's it. And so now it's like, okay, well, you can go, you're told by the courts, okay, well, you can get your guns back. So now here comes the process of trying to get your guns back, which is going to be
a months
long, a whole ordeal.
Aren't they filed in my name someplace in a shelf?
Yeah. If your guns aren't registered to your name, they're not going to get returned to you. You got to get a law enforcement gun release application from the Department of Justice. You got to go through the gun desk. They have their own procedure. So it becomes this whole mess. And that's if you're right. So if you were successful in defending against this, you still have months-long issues, and you're going to have to pay up money, go through all these processes to get your guns back. It's not like they hand them to you back in the courtroom.
So make my night. they charge storage fees for my guns
No, but if you don't pick them up within about 180 days, they'll destroy them.
or sell them.
Yeah,
Trust me.
With the way
I got a
that
good story
our
on it.
California law enforcement tend to skirt the gun laws when it comes to operating FFLs without a license, it seems.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Wouldn't
doubt
doubt
that
it.
at all.
Hey, so what I was saying earlier in the segment earlier, don't you think that's fair criticism? Where I said, hey, these were intended to be red flag laws, which means the way they were sold to the voters, to the legislators who passed it, is that hey, these are supposed to be a preventative maintenance. They were never intended to be common practice. They were never intended to be the procedure. No matter what, they were intended to be issued. Without a lot of regularity, at least this is the way they were pitched.
Yeah.
And if and it was described, hey, if this person is an obvious future threat, we need a tool in order to stop this person. And a lot of people that resonated, whether or not, forget whether or not, trying to predict the future is even possible or constitutional or whatever, but that resonated. It was never intended to be, every time a gun is involved in a situation, you issue a gun violence restraining order.
And that's what it is now.
And that's what it is now.
Yeah.
And when we said, hey, we're worried that this thing's going to, be used in every single situation. Oh, no, you guys are silly. Take off the tinfoil hat. No, we were right again.
100%. And, it's just absolutely crazy how it's just shot up in the percentage of how many of these things have been issued over the last, 4 or 5 years. But like you said, when you hear about gun violence restraining orders or red flag laws, well, what do they always talk about? They talk about, mass shootings because they want to pull at the heartstrings because no one wants a mass shooting to ever happen. But if we just had these red flag laws, we would have been able to stop these mass shooters. Well, they're not going after mass shooters when they're issuing these 1,000 GVROs every year now in San Diego. It's just not the case. And so, yeah, they're going to try to appeal to the emotions, appeal to the topics that are going to get people flared up in order to push these forward. But in reality, how they're used is very different.
So, John, let me go back to something you mentioned a few minutes ago, talking about them coming and confiscating guns, say, that aren't registered to you or something. If you've got unfortunately, I'm not in this situation, but if you've got guns that have been in your family for generations, that you inherited a collection from your dad who got guns from his grandfather and that kind of thing, and there's no, I don't believe there's any real law in California that makes you have to go back and re-register those guns. So is that something that, again, if this happens, you'll lose all that stuff and you'll have to fight to get all that stuff back?
100%. So, and that's a big problem in, long guns, rifles, shotguns. They weren't registered to people until 2014 in California. Handguns back in, 90s, early 90s, mid 90s. So, there's a lot of people that inherited firearms from their, grandfather, father. It all completely legal. It's completely legal to have a, quote, unregistered firearm. But yeah, that's the problem you come into when these guns are confiscated. Law enforcement agencies in California will not return a gun to you unless it is registered to you. So you get into this very complicated situation where the guns aren't registered to you because you got them from your, dead grandfather. And now police refuse to release them to you, even though they took them from you. They gave you a receipt for them showing, make, model, serial number, everything. And their excuse is, well, how do we know you're really the owner? Well, you took it from me. There's pictures of you taking it from me. I have a invoice from you guys saying you took it from me. Give them back. And it's this make-believe situation where, like, well, we can't
But you
prove
don't
they're
have any
yours.
paperwork from your grandfather.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a process. You have to go get them registered. But a lot of times people don't just have the make, model, serial number written down handy that they can then go and register.
Because they've taken all the guns away.
Yeah. So unless you have the gun to actually reference firsthand, you don't just have the information written down. And so it becomes a problem. And it's costly. And, I've seen people lose some valuable heirlooms through processes like this. It's pretty tough.
And we were talking a little bit earlier, too, about, close. They always talk about close family members filing these things or or areas of domestic abuse or divorces or something. But pretty much anybody can do that. It can be a colleague, could be an old roommate, could be a neighbor, could be pretty much anybody. Is that correct?
Again, very correct. So one thing I've noticed is...
Yeah, like if you interrupt me one more time, I'm going to make a phone call and the semi's coming to your house.
Yeah, exactly. You'll need two.
I was going to say. I was being nice.
So basically what I've seen in practice is, they always like to say, well, only, your husband or your wife or a close family member could get one of these against you. Well, the thing is anyone can get one. It's just that part of the regulation, it only regulates who's going into court to get that temporary restraining order. So if I'm not one of those listed close family members, all I got to do is call the police, and then the police go and get the temporary restraining order. So there's literally no obstruction or no hurdle that has to be overcome just because you're like the crazy neighbor or something like that. All it takes is a phone call to the police, and then they come in. It's I think they're incredibly dangerous.
Where's the
on many different
breaking
levels.
point? Where's the breaking point? Because the public, one of the problems is the public doesn't know this is going on.
Yeah.
Unless they're listening to this show.
Most people don't know what's going on until they get a
Till they
GVRO
get one.
put it on them.
So consequently, how far are they going to push it to where they have more guns than we have?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's kind of a stupid question. They're going to keep pushing no matter what. That's
because they're not going to have any kickback.
It's the fallacy. Everyone talks, casually about this slippery slope thing when it comes to gun control. But if you ever ask someone who's pro gun control, okay, at what point will you no longer need any more gun laws?
Right.
There's never a point.
No.
There will always be another need for it.
And we're going to cure cancer along with it.
And I'll tell you this, I posted a little bit about this last week, but we got a new bill in California, the SB 906, which is requiring people to disclose how they store their firearms to schools. You think you combine the fact that I'm going to have a school that has what guns I own, where I own them, how I store them, who has access to them on a sheet of paper in the school's file system. Combine that with a GVRO or a 5150 health and welfare check system where all I need is phone call. That's all this is just it's creating a larger snowball for rampant abuse because they want to make lists. They can't officially make these bad guy lists, so they do it in every other way they can.
It feels like they've run out of dumb ideas. It feels like they've implemented so many things or been struck down in court on so many things that they're coming up with like the proposals are getting more and more harebrained.
Well, didn't they come out with a new one, the new gun registry? A gun register where they're going to give the gun register. I mean, you'll have access to it.
Oh, so they have taken, and there's actually a lawsuit on this now.
Yeah.
But basically, where they're giving private ownership information to gun violence research centers,
That's it.
which is another
Did
name
you hear that
for
one, Mike?
a bunch of people that want to just take your guns.
We're plaintiffs in that lawsuit. If you're a member of San Diego County Gun Owners, you're a plaintiff in a lawsuit against that.
Yeah, we talked about it a week or so ago with Morgan, all right?
With Morgan, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
The other thing, too, with these gun violence restraining, just another bad aspect of this is how does that affect concealed carriers? If you're a concealed carrier and that happens to you.
There's another
say goodbye
show.
to that CCW. I mean, if you're put on a temporary restraining order, remember, temporary restraining order is reasonable cost, lowest standard there is in law. So even if you get a temporary restraining order, there goes your CCW. You think, the sheriff's office is going to be like, well, let's wait to find out and see if it turns into a permanent GVRO. If it's permanent, then we'll take the CCW away. Now, as soon as that's issued, you get a letter in the mail saying goodbye. And, even if you are successful in defending it, that's on your record. They're going to know that happened when they do the background check. So good luck applying
Faster than a tax
again. It's
refund
gone.
check.
Yeah. No, there's no chance. I could rant and rave about all the problems of these things
Do it.
for many,
Yeah,
many,
come on.
many,
He needs
many
some help.
episodes.
He can't, he's...
No, but when Michael's talking to this sheriff candidate and how he's so pro this, well, it's like, of course you are. You're a law enforcement guy who just wants to enter people's homes and take their guns. I'm sorry, let's just be real. And
You could care less about the general public.
Yeah, generally speaking, the Democrats are speeding off a cliff. The Republicans are just going the speed limit in the same direction. So.
That was a terrible analogy.
That's a perfect analogy.
It really is. I'm writing it down.
That was a great analogy.
Thanks for watching this clip from Gun Owners Radio. You can watch us live every Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. California time, right here on our YouTube channel, or if you're in the San Diego area, you can listen to us on 1170 a.m. We're also available on your favorite podcast platform for free. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can help restore and protect the Second Amendment, not just in California, but across the country.